This is the Aqualink, the new area in my indie game. The first thing I do when making a new area is a tile set because I hate looking at prototype art. Then when it's all imported, I start to work on the enemy design. This here is the chaser fish. This is the eel who fires a ton of bullets at the player, and this is the laser squid. To make the laser squid, it was quite the challenge because I had to learn about shaders, which put short calculate the color of each pixel rendered. I used the same shader for the boss fight laser, but before we go on to that, let's talk about an old boss fight. This is the Goblin Grotto boss fight, and while nothing is new about the actual boss itself, it's still been massively improved. For starters, there are now rocks in the arena, which can be broken but make the player have to multitask destroying the rocks and dealing damage to the boss. There is also new music, which is playing in the background, which was made by my friend and actually fits the theme of the fight so well. There is now a much improved tutorial in the game. Before you had this terrible little tutorial that more than anything just looks unpolished. Now you have this better tutorial, which is by no means perfect, but it teaches the base mechanics of the game while also being fun to complete. Now, you might have noticed that the game is now pixel perfect, which means we don't have any of these weird rotations or oddly scaled art. I've also made some huge improvements to the dialogue system. Before, the dialogue looked like this, which got the job done but was so ugly to look at, so I took inspiration from one of my favourite games at the moment, Cult of the Lamb, and made a similar looking system in my game which just looks so much better. This might be one of my favourite additions in this video, and that is the mini boss system. How it works is there is a 1 in 5 chance that your current wave will be changed to a mini boss fight. They are just scaled up versions of the already existing enemies with stat changes, but wow does it make the game feel so much more varied and fun. You can now use your money to buy permanent stat upgrades like damage and move speed. This is still very buggy and a work in progress, but already the progression feels so much better. On the topic of progression, there are now Steam achievements in the game. If you didn't know the game was on Steam, don't forget to go over and give it a wish list, but here are the Steam achievements so far. They really make the game so much more fun and was a great time investment to implement. I've also updated my website, phildev.uk, to now have a downloadable press kit for the game and just show more relevant information for the game. Leave a like and subscribe, it really helps, and I might give away a few Steam keys for my game if I get to 1000 subscribers before the game's release. Now let's go on to the main boss fight of the Aqualink. This is Lord Kakarot. To make this boss fight, I started with the art because I find that's the most enjoyable process and it just gives me a feel for the boss. Next is to get the arena set up, which only takes a few minutes max. Then I set up the boss fight attacks. This is really easy for me as I just have to choose a random animation. Yes, I did say animation. I like to make boss fights using animation and animation triggers. It gives me much more control of how I want the boss to move and exactly when I want the boss to attack. Then I just add some polish in the form of sound effects, start screens, and the boss is pretty much done. This is probably my favourite boss I've made for the game. My second favourite being the Eye of the Forest, and my least favourite being the King of the Grotto, which I'll probably have to update at some point. I said in the last video, I will have around 2 to 3 different boss fights per area, but each one is a smaller, less intense fight. But that will be scrapped since I do want the game to release this year. I've massively improved the menu, like seriously this is what it looks like before, just horrible. Now it looks like this. It's got a proper click to start screen and a menu inspired from none other than Breath of the Wild, with random, good looking screenshots of the game rotating in the background. My friend also made some much better music for the menus. This is what it was like before, with the jarring, annoying sounds, and this is what it's like now. I also cut the old intro for the game because the story didn't line up with what I wanted, and plus I already have this much better intro in place. You can't have a new area without weapons, so I've made the ice dagger, the ice bow, and the fish mask, which is the first armor set to give the player a debuff, though it's paid off by the armor's extremely high defense. And the final weapon is the ice spear, which just looks crazy on the screen. This should have been a feature months ago, but there is finally a pause menu in the game. It's nothing special, but it's great if you need a break while playing or just to adjust the volume. I've also added some smaller changes, like you change your class before every single run you attempt, rather than you choosing before the game has even started. While this does make the choice arguably less impactful, it lets you play around with a class you like, and I think it's better. It also means I can let the player unlock different classes. For example, after you kill the first boss in the game, you unlock the wizard class rather than having it unlocked as soon as you pick up the game. There is this new round cleared UI that appears and plays a cool sound effect when you defeat a round. There is this room before you start a run which gives you a single chest. If you watched the last devlog, you will know that there is a builder in the game. He will also in the future let you buy upgrades to this room, like multiple chests or various other upgrades. I've updated the Steam page to have this much better short description of the game, and it also has a better long description with the use of GIFs. I've made the bosses flash white when they get hit, which makes them feel much more juicy and impactful. And I've added tons of new decoration to the water area, which is now my favourite looking area. And I finally started to work on the brand new area in Eye of the Portal, but you'll have to like and subscribe and watch the next devlog to see that. Don't forget to wishlist Eye of the Portal on Steam, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.